Hi YouTube, my name is Renee. So if you watched my previous video about the Amy Anita Joyner case, thank you. If you have not, please hop over and watch it. So today I wanted to come and give my thoughts on an article that I read earlier in the week about 3 of the country's biggest poultry or chicken producers and the mistreatment of their employees. Now, the reason why I wanted to talk about this story is because I have worked in retail in the past and also in an office environment in which, production or meeting quotas was very much a part of the job description. So I could relate to this story, and I honestly hate the fact that the employees, felt all this pressure to perform, that they allowed themselves to be put through these sort of extreme conditions. So like I said, 3 of the country's biggest chicken producers are accused of their employees not being allowed to use the bathroom. Now, those chicken producers are Tyson Foods, Purdue, and Pilgrims. Now, a lot of employees reported that they were wearing diapers, because they could not get a bathroom break. And those who were not wearing diapers were, in fact, urinating on themselves while on the line and defecating on themselves while on the line. Now, as someone who has also worked with food and been serve safe certified in terms of food safety, it is not safe or sanitary for an employee to urine in a place where food is coming through. That's not safe or sanitary. Neither is it safe or sanitary for the employee, for the other employees, and other employees who did not wear diapers, in fact, just did not drink any liquid, so they wouldn't even have to use the bathroom. I mean, look at all of the possible health issues that these people are setting themselves up for. So if you don't go to the bathroom when your body tells you to, you run the risk of having all sorts of kidney issues. You run the risk of messing up your bowels, which is not good. And if you're not getting enough intake of water and other fluids, then you run the risk of being dehydrated. So that's bad all the way around. So it's bad for the employees, bad for the coworkers, to stand side by side people who are letting their bodily functions just free. And then it's bad for the customers where this food is passing through. So I don't know, just to me it seems like a biohazard completely. And I honestly kind of wish the employees had just done a sick out or had just called out and just said, you know what? Fuck this shit. We ain't going to work today. And I know people will say, oh, well, it's easy for you to say that because you're not in the situation. Well, while I have not directly worked in a factory setting, like I said, I have worked in a quota or, a production-based environment in both retail and in other environments. And there were times when I had to pull, management and district managers to the side and just say, hey, this isn't realistic. I mean, me and my coworkers, we just had to tell them, like, you sit in the office, so it's easy for you to say what's doable, but I'm actually doing the application of the practice. I'm working with the customers, so I know what's doable. You're assessing some number you would like to see based on, something that y'all sat around in a round table and came up with and pulled out your ass. I know what can be done realistically. And I kind of wish those employees had just said, hey, this is just not feasible. This is not reasonable. We're not doing this. And it's not to, degrade the employees, because like I said, I support them. I just want people, particularly employees that work in production-based, environments, recognize the power you have. Recognize it, because you got a lot more power than you think. And you have more power, and you have more power than your management is ever going to let you know. But trust me, they know that you're powerful. They just know you haven't tapped into it. But back to the article. So Oxfam America did a survey, or they interviewed a lot of employees, and all of them had very similar stories, which would lead me to believe that the employees are probably telling the truth. I highly doubt that they are exaggerating their claims. Now, according to the article, poultry processing plants are allowed an assembly rate production of 140 birds per minute. And recently, they lobbied to add another 35 birds per minute. I mean, can you imagine that? First of all, if you work on any job where you have to do a lot of typing or repetitive, movement, can you imagine what their wrists must feel like? Can you imagine what their arms must feel like? I would also imagine that these people have suffered some form of carpal tunnel or some form of weakness in their arms or wrists just because of the constant movement, and because they're not getting breaks. They don't get their arms and hands don't get the rest they need to temporarily. So I can only imagine that they probably have other health issues that these interviews don't even address. So I wanted to read part of this article because I think it's important to really highlight. So by law, companies are required to grant their employees access to bathrooms. It's a set of standards written by the Occupational Safety and Health Administration, which is OSHA, in 1998, which makes clear that facilities must be available to employees upon need. Now, that's just the very basic of OSHA standards. Also, let me also say that if you work 8 hours, you're also supposed to get a break so you can eat. I recently was out getting food, and I met 2 young ladies who worked for a very large burger chain that I won't name, and they said that more often than not, when they worked 8 hours, they did not get a break because they were so busy. Like the store that they worked at was excessively busy, and me and this other young lady that were talking to them were just like, that's not supposed to happen like that. You all need to start documenting this, and you need to contact the EEOC because that is a violation of your rights. Also, these 2 young ladies said that it's very common for them to work anywhere from 7 to 10 plus days without an off day in between. Now, imagine, what the hell does that do to your mental health? It definitely doesn't help. I mean, you're already, in a lot of cases, not really making great money. And then on top of that, you have to go in and work like without any sort of bathroom break, without getting a chance to decompress, without getting a chance to eat anything. On top of that, and if you're working with people, you have to maintain a certain level of customer service. But if you're not allowed to get a break, it's impossible to do that. It's impossible to keep high spirits when you're under all of these, excessive sort of work conditions. And back to the poultry workers, like I said, I really wish that they would have come together and all walked the hell out or done a sick out. And what a sick out is when a group of employees basically organizes and calls out for however many days. And the goal is to impact production or to impact the office. And that's exactly what it does. And I'm going to tell you why. The reason why a sick out is effective is because I don't give a damn how many people you get from the best of the best employment agencies. You cannot find that many people to replace who can learn whatever system is in place to do the job on such short notice. It's impossible. In a lot of cases, even when you have managers that may still come in because they're not a part of the sick out, a lot of times these managers don't know the grunt day-to-day work. They only know the administrative side of it, or they know the production side of it, but they don't know the actual application of the grunt work. So they aren't even able to do your job or fill in. So it's important that if you are an employee, that you recognize that, hey, without us, this ship could sink. And I've seen it happen. I was working somewhere and it wasn't planned, but for whatever reason, it was 2 days that this happened, and it didn't happen back to back, but it happened where damn near everybody in the office called out, and it wasn't planned, but you should have seen the panic on their faces and the relief on their faces the next day when everybody came in. And we didn't realize that so many people had called out, but that's exactly what had happened. So you had administrators running around the office like chickens with their heads cut off, no pun intended. But they were legit in a crisis because whether they're willing to admit it or not, they need your labor. There are some things and some jobs that no machine can do. I mean, there are just some things that you're going to always need people for, but I digress. Like I said, I really, really think it's unfortunate that these employees are under these work conditions, but I think it's important for us to really recognize, like I said, the power we have. If you're an employee, you're quite powerful, more powerful than you may think. And if we're really honest, I'm willing to bet that these sort of work conditions happen a hell of a lot more than what is being uncovered, by the media. I mean, this is just one story we know about. What about the hundreds of others that we know nothing about? So this happens a lot more than what we think. And also, this is a testament to the cost of cheap products or cheap food. So something I learned really early when I was working in retail actually is either you're going to pay on the front end or the back end. And what that means is you can try to be cheap. So let's say, for example, these poultry companies are trying to be cheap. But what they don't realize is they're going to wind up paying more on the back end because if one of these employees dies on the job because of these inhumane work conditions, their families could turn around and sue them. What they don't also realize is with this food processing, if these people are not being given breaks, in my opinion, the incident for, food contamination also goes up. So, like I said, you're either going to pay on the front end or the back end. And usually it's cheaper as a individual or as a company if you pay on the front end. Because when you pay on the back end, you have no control over that. That's out of your control. When you're paying on the back end, it's because somebody is stepping in saying, hey, you've done XYZ and you have to rectify it. So my thoughts are with the employees. I really hope they come together and do what's in their best interest. And like I said, this is no diss to them. I totally feel so bad for them, but we have to, as people, recognize the power that we have as regular people. We are so powerful. We just don't tap into it. We don't share our stories with each other, so we don't even recognize how many of us go through some of the same problems. And if we did discuss it, we could actually come up with more solutions. So once again, my name is Renee. Thank you for listening. And please don't forget to like the video. Give me your feedback. I love to hear about your experiences if you have been in similar work conditions. And don't forget to subscribe. All right. Until next time, y'all. Have a good one.